Alabama. The Hispanic population in America is the second largest ethnic group in the country. Both President Donald Trump and the Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, are holding events in states with huge Hispanic populations. This year marks the first time that Latinos will be the largest racial or ethnic minority in the electorate. Let's take a look at some of those numbers for you. 32 million Hispanic voters are eligible to vote in this year's election in 2020. California is the state with the biggest Hispanic population, followed by Texas, Florida, New York, and Arizona. And nearly two-thirds of U.S. Hispanics identify as being of Mexican origin. Cesar Vegas is an lawyer, as we say here in the UK, and was an undocumented even child migrant. He was also the National Latino Outreach Strategy for Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign. And Wadi Gaitan is from the Libre Initiative, a Koch-funded conservative Hispanic group which works to promote conservative outreach to Latinos. Welcome to both of you. Grateful for your time here on BBC World News. We've just looked at the numbers there, and let me start with you, Cesar, about how significant you think this vote might be in this year's presidential election compared to elections that have gone before.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And absolutely, the Latino vote has always been and will continue to be for future elections. But 2020 is one of those historic elections that our Latino community needs to come out and vote. And it's a message for both parties that when they are talking to us, that it's about respect. It's about respecting that not all Latinos are Mexican, not all Latinos are Cubans, but that there's diverse communities in each of our communities, and they need to talk to us in a way that talks to about immigration, about the economy, about healthcare, and not just one issue cookie cutter messaging. That's not how it works, and that's how some campaigns do it. And that's something that we in 2016 in the Bernie Sanders campaign, we were successful in reaching to the Latino community in Nevada, in Florida, in California, in Arizona, because we understood those diverse communities, and that is what's at stake, and that is what the Biden campaign is working on, and that is what the administration, Donald Trump, is trying to do, of course, with his demonizing immigrants and trying to paint Latinos as we're helping you on the economy. Well, when we're talking about tax cuts for small businesses, the reality is that those tax cuts are not going to those small businesses. They're going to billionaires. They're going to people who already are doing pretty well. Okay. And the help needs to be happening in our communities.
There's a number of points you've raised there, Cesar, and I just want to bring Wadi in, because Wadi, Cesar's just made the point then that when we talk about the Hispanic vote, we're actually talking about a real diverse number of groups here that is banded under that umbrella of Hispanic people. And perhaps that's where the campaigning in previous times has not been so effective. How do you think is looking now, particularly for the strategy for both the political parties in America?
Yeah, he's absolutely correct. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump, agree or disagree, but if you look at their campaign strategy, they're going to Nevada and they have specific messages to Latinos in Nevada, many of them who are of Mexican background. But then when you look at their strategies in Orlando, it's very different. It's to a group of Puerto Ricans, many of them who have fled the main island, really care about education, really care about the economy, really care about being able to start their business. But then they go over to Miami in South Florida, where they're talking more to a Cuban-American group. They're talking about to Venezuelans who have fled oppressive regimes and really care about the issue of limited government and really care about the issue of socialism. So there is specific tactics that come to each of these diverse groups. And we've seen that investment went very early on from the Trump campaign, and the Biden campaign is trying to catch up. You're seeing a lot of the same strategies with Kamala Harris being in Miami recently. Joe Biden has planned events in Nevada. So it's a tailored message, something that the Latino community really cares about. I would say are two things. One, that you show them that you care. And two, that you talk about the specific policies that impact our communities, many of them being healthcare, education, and immigration.
Yeah, let's look at those policies in detail. And Cesar, I just want to ask you first. We've talked a lot in the past about the construction of that controversial wall on the Mexican border. We've talked a lot about undocumented migrants and Donald Trump's rhetoric on that, saying, it's about them and us and keeping them out. I'm just wondering now how you think, and of course I know that you are a Democratic supporter, but how do you think these particular issues will play out?
Well, definitely, I go back to the principle of respect. It's about Republicans and Democrats respecting our community. And just a few days ago, Rudy Giuliani, a big supporter of Donald Trump, told the New York City chancellor, who is of Mexican descent, to go back to Cuba. This is a type of rhetoric. This is a type of language that reflects in this administration's policies. And for me, I'm willing to listen to messages from both parties, because at the end of the day, I want to make sure that whatever policies are enacted by government, that they're helping my community, that they're helping the Mexican community, they're helping the Puerto Rican community, they're helping the Cuban community. But the reality is that this administration is using inflammatory language and at times completely disrespecting communities, and those reflect in a wall. In policies that are completely neglecting Puerto Rico when they're suffering economic and climatic crises. And when small businesses need help, they need to be given the resources, not to billionaires at the moment. So for us, it's really about being true, being respectful. And this administration, unfortunately, under Donald Trump, and especially in this campaign, is not showing the type of respect.
Wadi, would you agree that the conversation around the wall and illegal immigration will not do Donald Trump any favors looking for the Latino vote, or do you not agree with that?
No, I would agree with it. It's true. His rhetoric on the area of immigration and on border security has alienated some voters. But again, speaking of the diversity of our community, for Cuban Americans, for Venezuelans, and for Puerto Ricans, this issue is not front and center for them. Many, again, Cubans, when they come to the United States, they automatically have some type of pathway to become a resident. Puerto Ricans are U.S. citizens by birth. Many Venezuelans are able to become refugees. So the issue of immigration, while it alienates groups in Nevada, possibly Arizona, New Mexico, in the swing state of Florida, which many say the way Florida goes is the way the White House goes, is not going to impact those voters. Those voters do remember that previous to this pandemic, the Latino community was experiencing record unemployment, record employment, record labor participation, record home ownership, and record home growth. Those are the issues that the campaign is pointing to, because on immigration, it is not their strong suit. It's an area that they need to grow in.
Yeah, I mean, there is the thinking that, you know, Latino voters have traditionally been big supporters of Democratic candidates, but I don't know, Cesar, how confident you are feeling at the moment going ahead of this, into this election, if they are going to come out in numbers for Joe Biden.
Well, absolutely. And we know Donald Trump is not going to win a majority of Latino voters. But what they're trying to do is trying to get into those margins, right? Trying to get 1%.
So are you worried?
Well, I'm definitely concerned, especially like we have crisis after crisis affecting our communities. We have COVID-19, we have people down, we have an economy that's crashing, we have a healthcare system right now that is still on the brinks of just not protecting people. So absolutely, but that's the job of the campaigns, but also the jobs of our communities. And whether it's the Libre Initiative and whether it's any organization, it's about getting our community to vote and participate in government, including in the census, because through participation, we have power. Regardless of your political affiliation, participation in government is critical, and that's important for us as advocates. That's important for the campaigns, the standards.
Forgive me for interrupting. We're just running out of time, but a final word to you, Wadi. I mean, for you, what do you think the biggest challenge will be for Joe Biden and Donald Trump in trying to get the voters out on the streets and getting them voting for them?
Yeah, each of them has to focus on their corner. Donald Trump has to put a lot more investment when it comes to the Southwest, when it comes to Nevada, and making sure that his message is resonating with Mexican Americans. Joe Biden's problem is in Florida, where Donald Trump is really chipping away the numbers. Again, it's not necessarily about winning the Hispanic vote for Donald Trump, but it's how can you close down that margin to be able to win.
OK. To both of you, thank you so much for being with us. It's going to be a fascinating few months ahead, isn't it? Less than that. But yeah, we'll watch it very closely indeed, of course. Cesar Valdez and Wadi Gaitan, thank you so much for being with us on BBC World News. Stay with us. Much more to come, and I'll be back with the headlines next. We will see you soon.